I am just beaming right now. I'm excited to introduce you to Sasha. And I just want to preface by saying that Sasha is probably one of the most coolest fire sign I know because you're a beautiful Leo spirit. And I just love your energy. And I am glad that we met. We got to meet several years ago. I don't even
Yeah.
remember how we met.
Yeah, I don't
Just
remember
Instagram.
anymore. I think so. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
like back in
Just
2019 or 2020,
18.
somewhere around
Yeah,
that.
I think it was just some kind of like, I don't know. It was somewhere on Instagram,
Instagram.
something random. And then we
Yeah.
connected because we shared like some similar thoughts. We stayed in touch. Then you
Mhm.
became a client. Then we
Mhm.
became friends, as most of my clients do. Y'all, we be having each other for life. So that's how we've known each other. But the reason I wanted to share you on the podcast today is because you represent quite a few of the women that I've worked with. And what I love is that you're still in the journey, as
Yeah.
one might say. We're all still in the journey of life if we're here, thank God. But
Yes.
we're still in the journey of this particular stage of transformation, maybe the
Yes.
way to put it. And I wanted to highlight that and share your experience with other women who are in the process, in this whatever specific journey of transformation that they are in, so that they can see sort of like how you got here, what it's like to be in the journey, versus just like, oh, look at where I ended up. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So
I'm still
Sasha,
on
welcome,
the
welcome,
way.
welcome to the podcast. So glad to
Thank
have you here.
you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. This absolutely has been a soul connection that I needed for sure. So I'm excited to talk about everything that transpired while I was in your program and the revelations that are still happening. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Ooh, I like that. That should be my tagline.
For sure.
But well, tell everyone who's listening a little bit about you, wherever you want to start, whatever feels good to you. So
Well,
much.
I there's so much, right? And because I am still in this process of figuring things out, it's almost like, how do I introduce myself? But I am a mom. I have young children in the home, which makes it interesting when you are on this journey of figuring things out, healing, and all of that, because you got to do it with small children in tow. I don't know if I would define myself as a serial entrepreneur, but right now I'm in this space of, I call it like a strategic pause as I'm gearing up
Mhm.
to do some things that are really close to my heart. But I started my business back in 2018. I started off as a VA and went into online business management. And I just have been figuring out really what it is that I want. And that's where you came in, helping me to learn to trust myself more and listen to myself more. And that's what I have been honing those skills
Mhm,
recently.
mhm.
And that's why I'm finally in this place where I'm feeling like, okay, I'm going to take some steps forward after really
Yeah.
integrating all that I've learned over the past, I'd say, year or two.
Yeah, for sure. So,
Yeah.
know that like most people that I attract or we attract each other typically are business owners. And we tend to then shift from talking about business into
Yes.
just who you are and what you're experiencing. And I know that that's me because I don't do surface level. I don't
At
really do
all.
surface level small talk, right?
No.
We'll be talking in a DM and it's like, oh, okay, blah, blah. And then, it's like there's a comfort level. I don't just like go in, but it's genuine curiosity. And if you
Yes.
say something or if I get a sense of something, I will ask. I'm not afraid to ask people that I meet, like, damn, she just went there,
Yeah, the more
because I'm
tough
asking.
questions.
Yeah, because I'm asking because there's a method. There is a reason why I'm asking. It's not to be nosy. It's
Yes.
curiosity because something in me is like, you know?
Which
Yeah,
I
so
love about you. If you don't mind, I'm gonna interject real quick.
go for it.
Because I absolutely came to you for something completely different than what I got, but I still got what I came to you for, which was so interesting because I definitely came to you business, finances, I was definitely in what felt like rock bottom for me. And I was so focused on the business and finance aspect of things that I couldn't see what really was happening, what was really underneath. And
Mhm.
that's why I say this was a connection that I needed, because you don't just hear the surface level thing. You hear that and it's like there's a gift that you have. You're able to feel into it, and you'll ask questions that may seem like they ain't got nothing to do with what I'm saying, what I've come to you for. But it's as if you're easily able to see what the root of the problem really is, regardless of what that root problem is. And that's a gift that you have. And I'm so glad that you were able to pull those things out of me. Because if I had went to someone else who was just a business coach, they would have tried to address the business problems I was having, but they were just symptoms. I really needed to get to the
Mhm.
core of it. And that's what you do. You get to the core of things.
Oh, I receive
Yeah.
all that. I receive all of that. I've always felt that way. And then the old paradigm, that is dying off. It's like, well, that's not important. The root stuff. Just give me what I asked for, but I think
Yeah.
love and the work that I do is rooted in love. Like I really love people. I really love humanity. I really love love. I love balance. I love high vibration. Like I love all of those things. And so I don't think you could love a person and have an intuitive knowing that there's something else there that if they could tap into that would really unlock some things for them. I don't think I would be in service of you and all of my clients if I don't knock on that door and be like, hey, what was that? Tell me more about
Yes.
that, right? To show this in real time, you mentioned when you came, it was like you were at rock bottom. Can
Yes.
you, to whatever degree you're comfortable with, can you share what was rock bottom for you?
Yeah. Rock bottom for me was, like I said, I started my business in 2018, and I believe that it was in 2021 that we worked together. But either way, I had been in business for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like I should have been further along. I felt like, so, and again, this is what I came to you for. My business itself just felt like it was crumbling, like I didn't know which way to go. I felt like I knew that there was a shift that needed to happen, but I didn't know in what kind of shift, what
Mm-hmm.
actually needed to change, because my business was suffering and I was the breadwinner in my relationship. So at the time we were struggling to pay our bills, and I just felt like I was in super survival mode and drowning. Like I didn't even have the emotional bandwidth to really give to my children because I was so focused on everything that was crumbling around me. So that was
Mm-hmm.
rock bottom for me, just feeling like I didn't know which way was up, which way was down, what next step to take. I felt like I had taken so many steps, worked on so many things within myself. Like, what was I
Mm-hmm.
missing? I think that's one of the things I said to you, like, Sonia, I've done all this inner work, I've worked with coaches, but nothing seems to really be working. So what am I missing? That was my rock bottom for sure.
Looking back now, like with the work that you did, because you did the work, I just got to facilitate and guide you, right? What was missing?
Knowledge of self, like just point blank, period. I didn't know me. Like, I have spent my life showing up how I felt everyone else thought I should show up. And
Mm-hmm.
at that point, the reason why I couldn't figure out what next steps to take is because it's like deep down, I knew that I wanted to finally start taking steps for me, steps that I felt were good for me, but I did not know how to even know that because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to trust myself because I was listening so much to everybody else around me. So like my inner voice, like my intuition, I was totally disconnected from that.
Wait, the way I experienced you and still do, even from the beginning, you say like, that's not how I experienced you. Do you think you were disconnected from your intuition, or were you afraid to follow it?
Absolutely, it's the latter. And so in my mind, I call that a disconnect. But yes, I was connected in the sense that my intuition was speaking to me. And that's why deep down I knew that something needed to happen. But I did not trust myself to make a decision on my own. I felt like I needed outside validation to figure out what to do. And honestly, as I look back at it, I think I came to you looking for you to tell me what to do. Like, not tell me what to do as in what you did, which was help me to figure out what to do myself, but tell me what to do. That's really what I was looking was for the next person to kind of be that crutch for me because that's what I was used to. So that's what I had. I had no knowledge, no trust in myself. That's the theme. It was no trust in me.
At the time, though, at that time, not looking back, so like now you can look back in retrospect and be like, you know what? I did not know myself at all.
Right.
At that time, though, did you think you knew yourself? Were you like, no, I know who the fuck I am? Like,
absolutely. I definitely thought I had a better handle on me for sure. It's honestly like going through your program that I started to really see myself, like see the real me start to emerge, that I'm like, oh, that's what this is what I've been doing. But prior to that, oh yeah, no, I thought again, that was one of the first things I said to you. Sonia, I've done all this self work. This has been like, this isn't something that I started doing when I met you. Self development is a thing that I am I used to be obsessed. I will say that I feel like because of you, I'm less obsessed, although it still is a priority for me. And that's a whole nother conversation. But prior to coming to you, I had worked a lot on me. And so I felt like I was a lot further along than I really was.
So let's fast forward. So you joined 6 weeks of self-discovery. I'm not sure.
I think we might have done a little bit of one-on-one, and then I was also invited into the group program so that I could, mingle with the other ladies and kind of learn. I do well in that group environment. So yeah, it was a little bit of both.
Yeah. I remember I want to say it was like the first week, first module, and you were like, oh shit, like you have just blown my mind, Sonia. You have just like broke my brain all the way open. It's one of the first things that, again, we can't talk about nothing. We can't fix nothing. We can't assess anything until you're clear on who you are in this moment, because that changes moment to moment. I mean, we are who we are foundationally, how we were designed to be. Now that is consistent. Sure. However, some of our traits come to the surface, some of them fall back a little bit just because this is just the nature of living.
Yes.
But I remember you saying, you were like, oh crap, I don't have a clue.
Absolutely. I do
Yeah.
remember there was one exercise, one of the first exercises that I did. I remember that blowing my mind. That one I remember so clear. I don't know if I can share the actual exercise, but
Right.
it was the one where you had to think of a few people that you really love and then write down those people, and then write the reasons why you love them. And it's so funny how that is so simplistic. It sounds very simple, but as I was doing the exercise, I realized that I love the people I love, not because of what they do for me, but because of who they are. And a large part of the outside validation that I felt that I needed was because I wanted to ensure that people loved me, that they liked me. That was a big theme for me. I'm a Leo. With us Leo sons. If you're a Leo son and you're listening to this, then you can probably relate. And that was so profound to realize that, they weren't doing anything special to me to make me love them. I just love them because of who they are. And so that opened my eyes to the idea that I might be okay to just be me in this world, And that was huge. That was a huge breakthrough for me.
Yeah. So you guys, the exercise that she's talking about, it is like how you see yourself and how you show yourself love. And for a lot of us, it feels very abstract to even assess how you are in relation to yourself or why you're in relation with yourself a certain way. So the exercise is like, because especially as women, we have all this conditioning. And I always say this caveat to like conditioning and stuff like that. It's usually well-intentioned. Yes. I really believe that people, whatever trauma, whatever conditioning, whatever like bullshit that we've experienced from folks, family members, things like that, is usually well-intentioned, y'all. Everybody's just doing the best with what they have at that particular time. Okay. Agreed. All of those little sidebars, right? Yes. However, as women, some of that conditioning look like, I should be, I need to, right? I need to make sure, I need to know how to cook. I need to make sure the house is right. I need to make sure the kids are good. I need to be sexy. I need, so all of that kind of like conditioning. And then it's like, well, what if I'm not hitting those marks? What does that say about me? And so the exercise is to bring you back to like, is that how you love people? Think about those closest to you, your children, whoever it is, your heart melts for them. Think about that person or those people. Why does your heart melt for them? It's usually nothing to do with what they're providing you with, at least in a tangible, external way.
Nothing to do with what you think you need to be doing to hold their affection and
Yeah. And so that's why that's so powerful, because when we, it's like me as a coach. This is why coaches have coaches or therapists have therapists. Some of y'all therapists, I'm coaching them, right? It's because we can see and participate with other people and help them through their stuff because we're on the outside versus when it's ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like especially women, we can be really hard on ourselves. And so, just looking at it in terms of somebody else that you love, I mean, again, it was so eye-opening for me. So first module, first week, I was already like, what? Mind blown. And it sounds so small. But when you allow yourself to start to let go of some of those limiting beliefs, those automatic negative thoughts, there's a world of freedom that comes with that. And it frees your mind to start thinking more positively, which is what started happening. I was like, oh, well, if I love them because all three of the people that I wrote about, they've all ticked me off in life. But I still continue to love them. And so I needed that reminder.
Being positive, it's not about being delusional or trying to convince yourself that you're not having feelings that are not the most savory. It's I'm having those feelings, and yet I'm going to keep going because I know that it is a feeling, or it might be a circumstance that too will pass. Because if there's anything that is consistent about everything, is that it is constantly in motion. I don't care what it is.
It's the circle of life, like Lion King.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You mentioned like Leos need a lot of validation, but here's the thing. I think everybody needs validation. I don't care. Even your most narcissistic person on the planet, I mean, they need validation. That's probably why they are so narcissistic, is because they have not felt, or they don't feel that they've had enough of other people building them up to a certain degree that now they have to overcompensate within themselves.
Yes, and that's what I was definitely stuck in.
So are you first or second generation?
My parents came from Haiti. So I'm first generation American.
Yeah, and that's a very strong culture.
Yes, to say the least.
I think we talked about with that culture, and you're like my second client who's of Haitian culture. We talk about spirituality, not from a religious standpoint. Like when I work with clients, I'm working, again, holistically. I don't get into religion per se, but there is definitely a spiritual aspect play into, or just that experience, what that was like for you.
Yeah. So on top of my parents being Haitian and, that coming with its own challenges, I love being Haitian. But yeah, the Haitian parents are very old fashioned. And on top of that, they are very religious. My dad is a pastor. His dad was a pastor. My mom's dad was a pastor. Yeah, my uncle is a pastor of one of the largest churches where I'm from. It's just pastors. So this was what I was brought up in. Religion was basically beat into me from a young age. Like, I even went to Christian schools growing up until middle school. I was in Christian schools where I had to learn Bible verses and all that. So when I started to look into more spiritual things and less, looking at, the religion, it was definitely a lot of resistance for me, for sure, because I felt like I was doing something wrong, that needing that outside validation. My daddy don't approve of this. So should I be doing this? My mama, I'm pretty close with my mother, and she's less rigid, I would say, for sure, in her beliefs, but still, she still has that religious foundation. And so I'm like, I can't talk to my mama about these new things that I'm learning and, these new cool things. And just internally, there was a lot of rewiring that needed to happen for me to be able to look at things in a way that I wanted to, like for myself. I had to research things for myself and, come up with my own conclusions. Honestly, again, the biggest thing that I can say I took away from working with you is the idea of surrendering and just surrendering to the flow of life and trusting that what's for me is for me, and that my inner voice is something that I can listen to, that it's a gift that's been given to me. And so that I can listen to that. And that helped me a lot when it came to going from this super religious background to understanding things in a more spiritual way and having my own personal relationship with God. I used to hear people give these testimonies in church about having their own personal relationship with God. And I always used to wonder, like, I wonder what that's like, And it's because of learning how to surrender, how to trust myself, that I have been able to really cultivate that relationship without worrying about how it looks to other people, how my parents view it, how my other friends who are still very religious might view it. I have my own thing, and
Yeah.
it has served me in ways that are just unimaginable over the last few years. But I will also say that I've rubbed off a little bit on the family too, on my parents, specifically my mom. She's looking at things in a more, again, still religious. And I feel like spirituality and religion, like really they are meant to work together, you know, it's meant to
Yes.
be one thing. But she's, you know, I've rubbed off on her. It's awesome to see that as well, that it's not just me, but I'm able to kind of help and impact the people around me as well.
Ooh, I love that. Yes, yes, yes. Because I think, and it's interesting, at the time that we're recording this, I actually just released today an episode. It's going to be episode 16 if you're listening. Episode 16. I'm talking about the transformation and the benefits of expanding your self-identity. How is it bigger than just you? I also talk about how when you fulfill your goal through a journey that you're on to create your best life or live your best life, but your best life, like that idea, that vision of what your best life is rooted in desire. It's rooted in like who you are. That's basically, it's purpose. It's all of that, right?
Yes.
And so I am such a big cheerleader about telling people this is life changing. It's not just your life that changes, because as you change, however you're changing, but in this case, it's an uplifting change. It's a high vibrational change. When you change, other folks, the people around you change.
Absolutely.
It is a ripple effect, right? So we talk about
Absolutely.
impact in the world. If we could all just be, then every change we experience gets to have the opportunity to change others if they're open
to it.
Right. Because we're interconnected again. Like there's no separation to this shit.
There really isn't. And it really is beautiful to see too, that you don't even, like you said, if they're open to it, and it's not even something that you need to go and push on them, they will see the change in you. And they'll be like, wait a minute, what's going on? And just, you know, they'll think about some of the things that you've said and they're like, maybe I need to, you know, shift how I'm thinking about this. So absolutely, there's this idea that I've seen in the spiritual realm where they say everything, whatever's good for you is good for everyone else. Whatever's in the highest for you is in the highest for everyone else. And I truly believe that.
Hey there, listeners. I'm currently offering private one-to-one coaching through dedicated weekly coaching, private messaging, and access in between for accountability. You will be able to take small, simple actions and manifest the life you want. To discuss your goals and learn about how my coaching will help you fulfill them, book a call with me today by visiting soniatompkins.com/book. You can also find the link in my show notes.
Okay. Can you speak to a particular circumstance that happened while we were working together that tested what you were working on? Like, oh, okay, yeah, I got that. And then it was like, oh, do you? Let's see. You think of a moment like that?
I know that this absolutely happened. I do recall while we were working together, things started to look up business-wise for me, where I had some inquiries come in for larger projects that I was really excited about. I was like, okay, I'm getting myself to, things are starting to unleash and open up. Opportunities are coming my way. I had a couple conversations with 2 or 3 ladies, and all of them were like, oh yeah, gung-ho, excited on the call, okay. And I had this process where I would send them a proposal. They would complete the process and we would start our work together. None of them completed the proposal. I followed up and everybody had a good reason as to why we couldn't move forward at the time. And that's when it's like, you know, you start seeing something happening and you're just like, okay, finally, this is what I was doing this work for, was to see this. And then to have it almost kind of like ripped up under you, because I was kind of counting those invoices already, like, oh, this is coming in. And then it's like, no, halt, stop. And for me, that was absolutely a moment to practice what I was in the midst of learning, which was, again, that surrendering to the flow of life and trusting that everything was going to be okay. Everything was going to work out for my good. So I started to feel that like anxious feeling that like, oh my God, it's all going to shit again. And I can't remember if I reached out to you or if it was one of our calls, but just being reminded that, hey, look, this is the work that you're doing. So you have an opportunity to prove to yourself that the work that you're doing, that you've integrated it, that you've learned it. And it wasn't until I just kind of like sat back. I remember you saying all the time, lean back, lean back a little bit. Stop trying to feel like you need to control everything. It wasn't until I actually just kind of relinquished control of the situation. And I will say control in air quotes, since you can't see me. Mm-hmm. Control is in air quotes because we think we have control, but I can't make anybody pay an invoice. I can't make anybody reach out to me. I can't make people purchase from me. All I can do is make myself calm down, chill out, and remember the things that I've learned. And so it wasn't until I did that things actually started to flow, that the invoices started to come in. But I needed to be met with that resistance so that I could practice what I was learning. And I think that any woman who's listening to this, be prepared for that. You will be tested. Mm-hmm. You will, things are gonna, because life is still lifing, like you said, life is still lifing, things are still happening. And so you will have opportunities to show yourself that I've actually learned this, I've actually grown.
Yeah. And opportunity is the perfect word, because that's what I was thinking. It's like, it's a test. It feels like a test, but yeah, it's really just the opportunity.
Because what is the point of doing all this work if it's not to use what you've learned? So when that thing comes, you use those tools. It's the same thing with that inner work, with learning about yourself. You learn all these things. And I think that's the lesson that we all need to really understand. Yeah, you get to decide. That's the big thing, is that you get to decide. Life doesn't have to run you. You get to decide.
Mm-hmm. I know for myself, even in my own journeys, it's all a journey.
Of little journeys.
All journeys of the whole journey.
Yes.
Is being able to have discernment. Knowing when and how to use discernment, which starts with just understanding this is something that I have some control over, or I can, manipulate. And I mean that just in the definitive sense, manipulate, or this is beyond what I can maneuver. And so if this is something I can manipulate, I can control, I can pull the reins in, okay, that's decision number one. Next decision is, how am I going to do that? Or the decision is, no, that is beyond me. There's nothing I can do with that circumstance. Second decision is, but here's how I'm choosing to be within that circumstance. Because I can't make the circumstance go away, right? But I can choose how I'm going to be, or how I'm going to respond to the circumstance, which I've been there so many times, and I think we will all be there, right? Which is why I think knowing how to tap into your own power is so important, because making decisions can be taxing, because we live in a society right now where all day you're making decisions. Okay, so we work together. You had these revelations. You started to take in the information, actually embody the information, opportunities to actually utilize the tools, right? That either you learned about for the first time, or that you learned how to use in a way that was more beneficial to you. Then we kind of wrap up our coaching, and then you embarked on a journey into therapy, formal therapy. And I remember touching on it very gingerly. I was like, I'm curious. You have this great experience. You felt like you learned so much. I'm curious why, after coaching, you went into therapy. What could you share with folks in terms of maybe the difference between the coaching experience or what you talked about or dealt with in coaching versus therapy now, being in therapy for a little bit now?
Yeah.
How different is it?
It's honestly very similar. In my opinion, it is very similar. This isn't the first time that I've done formal therapy. The woman who's my therapist now is in alignment with the type of therapy that I would have preferred to have before. It's almost like having another Sonia because she's not afraid to ask the deeper questions. Honestly, if I compared the two, I think the only differences would be what your education backgrounds might be. But it's very, very similar. Honestly, I told her this, and that's the same way that I feel about going through your program. It's like doing shadow work with a person, with another person helping you facilitate that. That's literally what I feel like my therapy sessions are. And that's exactly how I felt with you as well. Wow, that's a really good question when you think about it. They're very they're very similar. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'm about like, okay, let's assess like where you at. What do you want to do? So it's like, where are you at now? What do you want to do, which is future, right? And then, okay, how can I hold your hand, hold you accountable to get there? And I know a lot of coaches in the industry right now, it's all about, well, I don't hold people accountable. I want people who can hold themselves accountable. God damn it. If they could,
I want self-starters and da-da-da-da. If I was like that, I wouldn't come to you.
Thank you, right? And I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, how about you just say you're a consultant or a strategist?
Right.
Because when you're a strategist, you're not walking alongside of, right? And there's no shade, there's nothing wrong. But leave those of us who are real coaches, real guides, let us invested. Do that. Because I'm walking the walk with my folks,
Absolutely.
When we work together, you could have hit me, and you did,
Absolutely.
You would hit me up on a voice message and be like, what the fuck? Like right in this moment, am I tripping? What is happening? So anyway, go ahead.
I got one more thing that I want to say in terms of the difference, because as we're talking about, I'm like, ooh, there is a big key difference between the coaching and therapy that makes me kind of miss the coaching a little bit. And that is that with a coach, you will hear when you are going through something. Sonia, for sure, you definitely shared some of your own experiences or, so I was able to hear how you may have gone through something similar and what may have, what you may have done or what have you, or even within the group coaching program, hearing what some of the other ladies were going through and some of their insights and being able to kind of piggyback off that and have that light bulb go off too. In therapy, that's the one thing that's kind of, that's missing. And it's different structure. Maybe it works. I mean, it does work, but my therapist, and I don't think any therapist is going to be like, well, I went through something similar, or, they're very much more like, okay, this is about you. We're only going to talk about you. There's like a removal. There's a partition, you would say, between you and the therapist. There's only so much you'll ever know about them. And so I will say that I enjoyed that aspect of the coaching a little bit more because I love the storytelling. I love getting insights from other people's stories. And so having that, it's invaluable. I think that like you said, you have clients who are in therapy and are getting coached by you. I think that that's probably one of the best ways to do it, is to have you, and you could have the therapist, so you have this one way of doing things, but then to have you and your curious mind and the way that you go about things it's different. And I feel like together they probably complement each other really well.
Yeah, for sure. Especially for those who are dealing like with deep trauma. Sonia, I want you to coach me on that. But maybe I'm dealing with bipolar tendencies. Okay, I need you to have your therapist and or your medical doctor, because all of those I can't, and I'm not going to touch those.
You're not a medical professional.
And this is not about replacing anybody or lessening someone else's expertise, right? So I've worked with a therapist. I have worked with coaches. I love it. I love the whole thing. I think what you said is just perfect. In a perfect world, we'd have all of those. Everybody have a team, right?
Yes. Because it really takes a village out here.
We used to have a team. It was called a village. Once again, these modern conveniences, I'm not saying I don't appreciate it, but I will say that there were some pros to that. You had community, your family, everybody wasn't spread across the whole country.
At all. You were all like in that village. Away. Boom.
Okay.
You got the elders right there that are going to pour right into you.
You could send your people a note on a pigeon foot and they would come across, the yard, and then you could get what you needed, right? There was a medicine man, there was a wise woman, there was elders, right? Who had experience. These were your coaches, your elders, the storytelling around the fire. So you didn't feel like what you were going through is completely just about you, right? You saw life come into the world. You saw life end. Well, see, now everything is like everything had been very disconnected, but we're going back to this very connectedness.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Okay. Before we go, what could I have done better?
Ooh.
I wish y'all could see her face. She is like searching.
I'm really trying to think of something, Sonia. I cannot think of something that you could have done better. I really enjoyed the way you facilitated the program. I felt supported, like I had a hand to hold when I wanted it, but I didn't feel like you were dragging me down this road or, telling me what to do. I felt just very safe. I can't think of anything that you could have done better. It really was an amazing experience. The questions that you asked, you always ask the tough questions, but I never felt attacked. I honestly talk about the way that you ask questions to my family. I'm like, man, I wish you would ask questions like Sonia, because she'll ask the question, but I have absolutely said that to my hubby. Like, Sonia got this real good skill where she'll ask a question and it's like she's uncovering something, but it doesn't feel malicious. It feels like love. It really does. And you said this in the beginning of this, of this conversation, and you really can feel the love coming from you. And so I can't say that you could have improved on anything. I appreciate everything that you did. It was just what I needed, period.
Listen, I'm going to accept all of that. I'm not going to try to make you dig and search for something. But at the same time, I believe in what I teach and how I help people. And I'm not afraid to look at myself. That's why I'm so good at it with other people, because I learned it only through being so curious and observant of myself and wondering how I can improve or why I'm the way I am, even if I'm not trying to improve, just understanding why I tick the way I tick. How did I, affect someone by doing this thing or that thing? And so just my own like self-exploration and then acceptance of myself is really, because I don't even, until you all tell me, until I've heard this a lot of times, do I understand that as a skill of mine, the questions and how I ask it. But it wasn't strategically planned out. I don't strategically plan out it's just.
No, you could tell it's a gift. Yes.
I just be like, well, wait a minute, what you mean by that?
Yes,
I
where
just
most people will keep the conversation going. You're like, wait, hold up, wait a minute.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it is a
yeah.
gift.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed not only working with you, but getting to know you. And like I said, we are friends now. We have all kind of talks
Yes.
about all kinds of things. We're friends now, and yet at the same time, not just you, but other clients or other friends who have become clients, y'all still invest in the services. We're friends, we talk,
Yes.
we have combos, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
at that particular moment, you needed intentional, like when
Yes,
I'm
like
here,
focused.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a difference when you have a friend that you can talk to here and there versus working with a coach, like you said, with that intentional space, that focus on, okay, this is what I'm looking to do, and having a little bit more structure to it. Like, okay, we're going to go from here to here to here. All right, as we are, making progress towards that goal that you said you wanted to reach. I think that a lot of people, when we do certain programs, we're expecting a certain end result. And even though the end result that I came to you on day one wanting, I got it, but it came differently. It didn't look how I thought it was going to look. And that's exactly what I needed. And so even though this is not I came from here to look at where I'm at now type of story, it still is, because the woman that I was that day is a completely different woman now. And it was because of those seeds that were planted while we were working together. It's the things that I learned. And now I've continued to hone those skills. And I'm stronger than I've ever been. And I actually feel like the daily breakthroughs that are happening now, sometimes you might have to put in the work long before you really see the fruits. You'll see, the stem coming up, and you'll see it, but it's like the flower ain't bloomed yet. But that's okay. That's just your journey. Maybe there's a little bit more for you to learn, to work through, etc., before you could see that flower that you're looking for. And that thought process, that is the true gift.
Well, that wraps that up with a bow amazingly. Thank you so much, Sasha, for taking your time out and sharing your story and your experience with everyone listening. I know that this is going to impact so many, many people. If you're one of those people, if you're listening and this is impacting you, definitely let me know. Send me a DM on Facebook or Instagram at Sonia Tompkins, and let Sasha know too. Sasha, where can the people just follow you and see what happens next, as they say?
Well, recently I've taken a liking to TikTok. So I've been sharing some of my, insights and things there. You can find me, Miss Sasha Belle. I'm also on Instagram. So if you're a Instagram girl, then catch me there at the same name, Sasha Belle. And, stay tuned for some of the exciting things that I'm working on.
All right. Well, that's perfect. Thanks again, Sasha. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Or I'll talk to you on the next episode.
Hey there, listeners. I'm currently offering private one-to-one coaching sessions through dedicated weekly coaching, private messaging, and access in between for accountability. You will be able to take small, simple actions and manifest the life you want. To discuss your goals and learn about how my coaching will help you fulfill them, book a call with me today by visiting soniatompkins.com/book. You can also find the link in my show notes.